All right, hello everybody. Welcome to a bit of a new video format, something that I haven't really tried before in the past. This is going to be very similar to what Mogul Mail does. If you've seen any of the stuff that Ludwig produces with that particular channel, but today I figured it would be a good time to go through and talk about what just happened in the recent Winter Summit with Old School RuneScape. In the bottom left corner here, I do have my current Cape Freak account, just getting some Ogre Bones so that way I can train up some prayer. So while we wait for this grind to go through, I thought I'd go ahead and get started. The very first thing that came out is a forestry update. This is a new update to woodcutting. It looks a little bit interesting. It seems like they are definitely diving a lot more into like the social aspects of woodcutting, being that you just have a whole bunch of people surrounding a tree and yelling at each other to stop hogging the XP. So it looks like they are focusing a lot more on this being more of a group activity. Now, what does this ultimately mean for us? Let's go ahead and take a look and see what the blog is showing here. So when it comes to forestry, there are a few things that we do want to go ahead and keep in mind, and it's that it's going to be a new optional method of training woodcutting from this point forward. So there are a couple of things to keep in mind is that there's going to be a forestry kit that you get from the Freaky Forester. This enables you to be able to participate in all sorts of different forestry events that are going on. They talked about random events that could happen while you are chopping trees. I feel like this could be very similar to the way that randoms events are currently implemented, but are more specific towards woodcutting itself. It seems like they are also talking about possible campfires that provide buffs to anybody that's in the area, not necessarily just chopping trees, but anybody that is in the area of someone who's training woodcutting can benefit from these buffs, and is possibly could be some sort of bonfire that could be included. That'd be nice. RS3 bonfires were really cool, so if this is the way that that makes the way into the game, then that would also be nice. But they do talk about some sort of economic offerings with like a forestry currency that can be used to complete the forestry kit. We're gonna have to wait for individual blog about this in order to get more information, but this does seem to be a good method to fix the issues that are going on with low level woodcutting, being that it's incredibly slow. The only thing that you can do is just sit there and chop a tree for hours until you eventually get enough experience to move to the next tree. Oftentimes the best trees that you can do to train woodcutting, like teak trees, are very crowded. So hopefully this can help out with some of that early game grind when it comes to woodcutting. Next thing that they announced was just a mobile interface rework. Nothing too spectacular, just some more clean UI features for mobile. I personally normally don't like to play on mobile, but if you do like it, then hey, there it is. But the next one, the big event that actually got me very excited, is Bounty Hunter, actually. I forgot to bring up a tab for this, but Bounty Hunter got announced to come back into Old School RuneScape, and I'm very excited for that. Bounty Hunter seemed like it was an excellent way to get into PvP just in general, so the fact that it's now coming back is going to be extremely fun, extremely exciting. Now, there are a couple things to note about this that are a bit concerning. The first one is monetization. How is the player base going to benefit from Bounty Hunter being back in the game, aside from it just being a good method to get back into PvP? One of the big things that is a very major concern is the fact that Bounty Hunter previously was used for a lot of boosting with emblems, where Iron Men would go in with another account. They'd keep hopping in and out of the wilderness ditch until their own account got assigned to them, and they would go in and kill their own account in order to upgrade an emblem that would be used to buy rune pouches or alkables or really just anything that you can use to sell. This is something that Iron Man did. This is something a lot of bots and a lot of low level accounts were doing just to make a quick buck. So hopefully they do address that. They seem to be very concerned about that when they were announcing it during the actual summit itself. So we'll see how exactly that goes through. But to put a positive on this does mean that the wilderness craters that were in RuneScape 3 back in 2007, 2008 are coming back and seems to be the main venue for the new Bounty Hunter update. I'm excited to see how that goes through. I never really did too much PKing back in the day, but I do have a PKing pure that I'm going to be building as I'm going through this account. It'll be a very much on the side type deal, so this will be a good way for anybody to hop in and get familiarized with how PKing works. Also, on the topic of pures, I did not pull up the part of the article that mentions this, but pures are now going to be a formally, officially recognized account build in RuneScape with its own high scoreboard, with its own restrictions and baked in game mechanics that will help impact it. And it's also going to be opt-in. If you already have an existing pure, you can make that into a pure if that specific requirements for the pure are met by the game. Now, those specific requirements, we're going to have to see what exactly they are in the future. They did mention talking about a 10 HP pure, but I'm curious to see if they're going to do like one defense pure build types or something that's pure skilling and gets no combat XP. So we'll just have to see how they flesh that out a little bit further. It'll be interesting to see the requirements for that. But for the actual big thing that did get announced is Desert Treasure 2. This is extremely exciting. This is a continuation of the Majorat questline. The Majorat is a absolutely fantastic, big questline that is in RuneScape 3. It includes things like Wild Gothic Sleeps and is, in my opinion, the main quest of RuneScape. So it's very exciting to see that this quest line is finally getting a little bit more fleshed out here. They were talking about how they've already been dropping some hints previously with 3 other quests, like the Garden of Death that just recently released. There's the Temple of the Eye, and then there's the third quest, which escapes me at the moment. But they've already been dropping some hints on how this is going to go. So possibly we're going to have a fight in the Temple of the Eye. Sliske might get introduced and might be seen a little bit more, and there might be some new faces to old school RuneScape and RuneScape 3 that get introduced as a part of the storytelling process that old school RuneScape goes through, as there is still, even though old school pulls from RS3, there is still a lot of differences in between the two and how they operate. So this is very exciting. It looks like Desert Treasure 2 is going to be a Grandmaster level quest. At least that's what it seems like by the way that they're hyping it up. Below Ice Mountain is the other one that was already introduced. That was the quest that I forgot about. But as a reward for doing Desert Treasure 2, we're getting the prayer book with ruinous powers. Now, conceptually, these seem to operate very similar to RuneScape 3's curses. And these are just a full-on new kind of prayer book. So things like rigor, augury, maybe even protect item or smiting or retribution, those types of prayers may or may not be accessible in this new prayer book. It's unclear on what exactly will be in the new prayer book, but looking through the curse book that already exists in RuneScape 3, there are a couple things that would be very cool to see get implemented into old school from this one. Namely, Soul Split, something where you can heal while smiting the other person that you're fighting. That's a really cool ability, and I kind of hope that that does get included as a part of the new ancient prayer book that is coming through. But to go along with that, there is going to be a prequel quest that needs to be addressed before we even get to enjoy the prayer books or the curse books, and that would be the Secrets of the North. This is the quest that they've been hyping up a bit as being a mystery. So now that it's finally out of the bag, we get to see the request requirements. We have confirmation that this is in the Majorat quest line. We got some skill requirements. 69 agility is not bad. 64 thieving, 56 hunter. Everything is not that bad when it comes to it. But the really big draw of this is the fact that you get to fight a repeatable solo only boss. Now, this boss isn't going to be anything spectacular. It's not bringing anything crazy new to the table. The big things are that it has a bow that has a niche use where if you fire it, the arrow will ricochet off and damage other things. There's also the item to create a saturated heart where you use it on an imbued heart and it just increases the bonuses. There's also the possibility of increasing the effectiveness of Ancient Brews by adding another secondary to it to make it a more powerful potion that focuses a lot more on the magic level increase, making it on par with the range potion. So that's exciting. That's going to be very, very cool. Very curious to see how this boss mechanics are going to work. Hopefully, the boss is fun to fight. We'll find out here in about a month, though. And then the next thing that I do want to talk about is the idea to add a new skill. So whenever they talked about this, they seemed like they were already working on an idea, but they quickly did a bait and switch and told us about the process that they are going to be going through to propose and get a new skill. Right now, we are in step one, which is brainstorm and figure out what skill we want to add in. Now, there are a couple concerns with this because when it comes to adding skills in the game, old school RuneScape hasn't exactly had the best history. You know, we've had things like artisan, we've had sailing, and we've had warding get proposed, and each one of those have failed the poll. Not by a big margin, mind you. It's just a fail only by a few points, but regardless, it did not reach 75% of the player vote. So now that the threshold for a poll passing has been dropped, and now that they are talking about being much more in tune with community discussion in building this new skill, it'll be interesting to see how things flesh out and how things go. So we'll keep an eye on that. As the blogs come out, I might make another one of these videos just to discuss the skill and discuss what I hope for it. Personally, I think that having something like Invention would be interesting. I'm not too familiar with how it works in RuneScape 3, but Invention would be cool. I honestly wouldn't be opposed to having Warding hit the table again. I really did like the idea behind warding, just because I do think that magic in this game is a little bit underpowered, especially in the early to mid game. So we'll see how these things get, or magic armor is underpowered, I should say. So we should see how this ends up fleshing out as time goes on. So with that, that's really the big thing that I want to talk about today. Just the Winter Summit, go over some of the rewards and see how well it goes. If y'all have any opinions or questions, feel free to leave it down in the comments. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you guys again once we get some more information out about this.